In this video, I'd like to talk about knots that are a 3-pass knot with 2 colors, and they have 2 stripes, 2 zigzags in the interweave. And the main reason I wanted to talk about it is I see these 3-pass pineapple knots, and where you tie a pineapple interweave and then you put a second pineapple interweave on top to make it a 3-pass, and it makes the second, well, both of them are off center, because what you're doing is you're tying the second interweave on the outside of the first interweave on the left hand side, and on the inside of the bites on the right hand side. So it forces the first interweave down to the bottom and the second interweave to the top. So it makes, and if you do it in 2 colors and have your second interweave be the different color, it makes your interweave off center. The color is off center. See how it's closer to this end than it is to this end? So what I like to do is I like a horn knot, and that's what this is. And what you're doing now, all these 3 are a 7-part 6-bite casa knot, and then have 2 interweaves tied inside of them to make them a 3-pass. This one is a 7-part 6-bite casa knot for the primary knot. Then you tie another 7-part 6-bite interweave inside of it to make it a 2-pass herringbone knot. Then you get a different color and tie a pineapple interweave inside of the herringbone knot. And the interweave would be a 5-part 6-bite interweave. Now this one is a grant knot, and it is a 7-part 6-bite knot, and you tie a pineapple interweave inside of it, which would be a 5-part 6-bite interweave. Then you tie a second 5-part 6-bite interweave inside of it, but this time you're making it a 2-pass, or it's a herringbone. The 2 5-part 6-bite knots are a herringbone knot inside of the 7-part 6-bite knot. This knot, I was going to do them all 7-part 6-bite knots, but if you do that's what this one is. So it's 3 7-part 6-bite knots tied together to make a 3-pass herringbone. But where they're all 7s, it makes 3 zigzags. So to keep in my scheme of 2 zigzags, this is a 5-part 6-bite casa knot, and you tie 3 of them together to make this knot. And I want to show on the collars and how they fit. This is a 1-inch, both these are 1-inch dowels. And when I made the collar for these 4, I made them 1.25 inches long. Well, I knew this one was going to be narrower, so I cut it down to be 1 inch so that it'd fit better. But I could see that they were still a little bit wide, because you want to have your bite boundaries on the outside of your collar. See how I've got the herringbone bites, or the red, up here, and the pineapple bite, or the blue, inside, and it's right at the edge of my collar? Well, you'll have a better shape if that collar is just a little bit narrower. So I fixed me some more collars to tie the knots on the video, and I made them 1 1/8 inches. And I tied those knots last night, and here they are. And now this one, I made a collar for it that was 3/4 of an inch wide. And see how it gives a more round shape, where this one is quite flat? And you can see that the 3 rows of bites are all way up off the collar, which then I just let it relax, and the hole got smaller, so I put it on a 7/8 dowel, just so that it would have that better shape. And I think if I tied them again, I would put them on a 7/8 dowel. And on my collar, I'd probably put a little bit more tape to make them higher, to give it that nice round button shape like this one is. And another thing, where that leather, this is just some saddle skirting, it's quite hard. And if you have a little bit more tape so that it's soft, when you bury the ends, because it's nice to bury the ends so they're between the collar and the knot, not on the edges. And if the collar is soft, when you cut those off and go to dress up your knot, you can push that down in, and there's some place for that buried string to go so that your knot is smooth. And these are the knots that I tied last night, and I buried the ends, but I didn't cut them off because I wanted you to see how I buried those. So on the blue string, where this strand come in and would have come up alongside of the standing end, I pulled the standing end out clear to here, so it's under these 4 strings right there. It would have come out right here under 3, but I just did it one more strand to give it 4, and then I took this one in, and it would have went under 3 and come out right there, but I took it one more just so that it was under a 4, and they're just straight along each other, so they're not crossing, making any humps. But then you'll have to kind of, when you're dressing your knot up, pull that so that it's got the appearance that that string is just going straight through there. And then on the red one, I just brought it up through, and I like to come out of a hole so that your strand is alongside of another string. So when I cut that off, then I can just push that back in, and the same thing on this side, it's coming out with that string. So I left those long so that you could see how that was done. And on these, I wanted the collar just a little bit smaller. So as I said, when I made the collar to do this video, these collars and this collar, they were all 1 1/4. I made this 1 1/8 inches. But if I was going to do it again, I think I would have made it 7/8 of an inch wide and done it on a 7/8 inch dowel, so that, see how the bites closed in good around my collar, and see how you can see the herringbone bites or the red, and inside of it you can just see the blue just to the right on the edge of the collar. If it was off a little more, it would give it a more of a round shape. And the same with this Grant knot. Okay, this is a 3-pass herringbone. This is a 3-pass horn knot. This is a 3-pass Grant knot. And it just gives you some idea and different variations that you can do as you're designing a project of the size you want, the shape you want, the number of V's you want. And another thing, when you look at a knot that's got an interweave like this, if it's got 2 zigzags showing, there's 3 zigzags underneath the knot. So if you add those together, it tells you that this blue interweave was a 5-part knot. Where with this one, where there's 3 zigzags showing, there's 4 zigzags underneath on the inside of the knot. So the 4 and 3 is a 7. So when you look at a knot like that, you go, oh, the interweave is a 7-part knot. So that's just a handy thing to know when you see a knot, to kind of have an idea of what size it is. The main thing I was wanting to show was my dislike for this off-center color pattern. And there are 3 options. So I hope this helped you understand some of the knots, and I hope you'll think about that and try these 3 different knots on different projects. Thank you for watching.